It's the GAA Social on BBC Sounds. We had a nice Sunday night recording, and we're back again for one of our more traditional interviews. Aren't we, Oisin?
We are.
But not too much traditional about this man in front of us, because he has...
Plenty of tradition, that man.
Yeah, well, this probably is a wee bit now, in fairness, and a good bit, and probably loads. But he broke the mould too. And when people were thinking that it wasn't going to happen for Tipperary hurlers, and it did. Liam Sheedy, what is happening? Former All-Ireland winning manager, former Tipperary player, television pundit, and there's a lot going on.
Yeah, a lot's going on, yeah. She's had a good complaint.
Welcome to the podcast, fella.
Very happy to be here.
It is good to have you. And we've been talking for the last couple of years about getting you on. Haven't quite managed to do it, but we've done it now. And expecting great things, aren't we, Oisin?
Big time.
No pressure, no like that.
How is life? How are you?
Life's great. Yeah, life's really good.
What are you up to at the minute?
Actually busy. Back helping out. The brother's gone back in managing the clubs, so helping out a little bit with Portroe, just on the physical side, just try and get him a little bit fit.
Who's taking who?
John.
John.
Yeah, John is back in. He went back in last year, so he's back in again this year. So
former Tipperary hurler.
Former Tipperary hurler. 2
years, was it?
Yeah.
A couple of years. 85,
83, 84, 85. Yeah, we won't talk about 84.
Right.
Yeah, that famous goal in Thurles for the
centenary year.
That's right. Sean O'Leary. Yeah.
Well, I have to say, it did come across my mind. You probably don't know Liam's brother, do you? I don't know what I'm talking about. I've never met the fella, right? So I don't know him either. But I would say if there's a good podcast to be done in Ireland, I would say your brother would be a great man in front of a mic.
I'd say he would be too. There'd be no fear of him. Yeah,
he is a gas man.
He's a bit of a character. Yeah. The slagging was that when we're doing the Laker Gale on you, Liam, because the last one was on John.
And that's exactly where this comes from. Look, congratulations on a lovely programme. I remember watching it, I think it was 2 years ago. Was it a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
And it was a lovely programme. It was a lovely insight into you. And hopefully they'll go and do another one on you this time instead of John. But he came across brilliantly, I have to say. Now, I thought he's just one of the glimpses into life. I feel it's completely wrong in saying that. We've asked this man to do a podcast for the last couple of years. And we're basically saying, we should have got the brother. But he was I'm struggling to really explain it, but he just felt like a fella you'd love to be in his company.
Yeah, he's great company. And really passionate man. I suppose has been a big part of my life, obviously with Dad dying when I was a year old. John was a big part of my life, and obviously losing Jimmy then, it's 21 years ago now this weekend. That was a big moment in the family. But yeah, he's a real character, and you'd enjoy his company. He's a passionate hurling man, loves his hurling, big family man, loves the Sheedy brand and all that goes with it. And but we shouldn't underestimate the other lad either, Mike. He's a great character. Mike, unfortunately, he was probably the best hurler of the whole lot of us, but he'd done his cruciate when it wasn't normal to get him refixed within a couple of months. So, right. But Mike's the type of fella that you could bring him anywhere, take him anywhere, whether he's talking to the richest man or the poorest man, Mike will find a way to generate conversation. It's a unique skill that he has. So, when the three of us meet, there's always good banter. But yeah, you definitely enjoy having a pint with him anyway, that's for sure.
Brilliant. Hello, Mike. I feel like we've completely undersold you. But I tell you who we haven't mentioned, who is definitely top of the tree. And again, nobody that I have ever met. Your mammy. Because you touched upon it there. You lost your daddy when you were 1.
That's right.
So she's rearing 4 boys. And you also touched upon it there that you lost your brother. And you probably didn't even notice it, but you actually said, we lost Jimmy. And it was how many years ago did you say?
21.
But what did you say the minute 21? You followed that up by saying 21 years this weekend. So even that level of detail, Liam, I don't know if it surprises me. I'm not, of course you should nearly half know that, but 21 years passed. I just found it was quite an interesting thing that you were straight away on it this weekend. Still there?
Yeah, still there. Jimmy was a teacher, you see, so he was off every summer. So he was, I was with him nearly every summer because there's a good gap. I'm much younger than the lads,
Yeah.
Obviously.
You were late, Kate?
I was late, absolutely, late to the party. But
Same.
Yeah, but Jimmy was always around, and he used to take me golfing, and we wouldn't play down the first, and then I get to play from there on, and he had a big part of my life. Moved to Roscrea, but that was only half an hour over the road, and he was taken way too early. I remember going in to see him on a Saturday, and Ireland were playing a rugby match, and saying, "Geez, don't be watching that rugby now if it gets tight near the finish," because it was his heart. He had a heart condition. He had a murmur from when he was a young age. But it's amazing. Like, I was training the tip minors at that time, so I was down doing a training session on Sunday morning, and we were warming up to play Wexford in a challenge match. And the old Nokia phone, was in my pocket, and I'd say I cannot remember any time that the phone was on when I was in a training session, and the phone rang, and it turned out to be in the hospital. And they said, Jimmy's after taking the turn, because the expectation was he was going to come out. And he never came out. And by the time I got back, and then I was trying to ring the others, and the others were at mass, so I had to try and get to them and then get back in. But unfortunately later that afternoon he passed away. It was it's tough. 47. You think about that now, 47 years of age. You don't expect to lose someone at that age. And really tough time for us as a family, for his family, for everyone involved. And I can still remember, standing inside and in the hospital, and my mother at that stage, I think, burying one of your sons probably was one of the hardest things I think any mother would have to do. And she said, "I'd swap, can I, get him out and I'll go in." And I can still remember her standing over Jimmy at that time. So and look, as I said, he even we spoke earlier, we were having a bit of a jeer around Clonus. And he came up that weekend, and he'd a letter left in the hotel we were staying in, just wishing me the best of luck. And I was always in my corner, and we enjoyed a pint together as well. And we were good for each other's company. He was in Roscrea, and that's where my wife Mags is from. So I'd be in Roscrea quite a bit, and he never sent me home in great shape. He was well able to drink a pint of Guinness. But that was just great memories in some way, but cut way too short. And again, you'd love on the great days that we had in Crow Park, you'd love to have that Jimmy would have witnessed it, but life deals you a cruel blow, and I suppose losing Jimmy at 47 on the back of Dad dying at 47 was a tough pills to swallow. Yeah.
So your mummy's raising 4 boys by herself. Now, did you always have the respect of how difficult that would have been for your mum, or is that something you maybe got better at recognising as you became older, Liam, because that's a tough gig?
Yeah, I think in the time when you're in the moment, you're so young, and you're not really understanding what's going on. But when you look back on it, the community of Portroe, she never drove. She was just walked everywhere. So we were depending on neighbours to take us to matches, to take us everywhere, and there's just a great community spirit in Portroe. And I suppose that's something that stands to me. That's why I still live there today. I just love the place. It's a place where there's a strong culture, strong values, and we look after each other. And I think that's a really important part of where you come from. She managed that, and she was working in the pub across the road. She was working in the post office up the road with Mr. Shouldice and Danny, and she went about her business, and I don't know how she did it. Amazing woman, but she'd massive faith, Thomas. She'd incredible faith. Most of my times we'd be going to mass during the week and up, and I suppose that faith is probably still in me, and that's something that she handed down to us. But she just had real strong belief in God, and then we lost that until St. Anthony had to promise St. Anthony £1, and we nearly always found it. The rest story told. Danny Shouldice, he was the person that owned the shop, and he used to have the nightclub. He used to have the dance hall in Portroe. Back in the day, he ran the dance hall, he ran a pub, and he ran the post office. But he lost his keys one day, and my mother convinced him anyway to say, "Look, promise St. Anthony £1, and you'll find the keys." So he found the keys anyway, and he made look for the £1. And he wouldn't give her the £1. He said, "No, I have my keys now." So he was going down through Ballycardo, about a mile outside Portroe, and he got a flat tyre, and Mike was with him, and he says, "Well, the goddamn Billy Sheedy and goddamn St. Anthony." So they got sweet prayers, I can tell you.
Yeah.
But I think for her having strong faith and having great neighbours, and how she went about that was incredible. I think a lot of the values that she had in life, she passed on to all of us. And certainly, if you ask me who was my inspiration in life, it would be Bid, without question. And we got to spend, thankfully, many years together. When I got married, myself and Margaret, we lived with Bid for a while. When we had our first child, we were still living with Bid, and then we moved out, and she was a gas woman, and as I said, handed down a lot to us.
Yeah.
Did you pick up the faith and run with that as well?
Yeah,
Have that?
yeah, I'd still have a very strong faith. Yeah, we all would. I think that's the point about the values that your parents, the environment that you're in, what you're exposed to. That's certainly something that because life's tough, and some people are dealt tough blows, and it's the ability to get back up and look, as I said, when your dad moves on and your brother moves on, you get a real sense of reality and that the challenges that life can throw at you. But if anybody watched me in the video on the All-Ireland final in 2010, 63 minutes gone, my ears are gone to the sky. Dad's up there, Jimmy's up there. Just get me out of here in the next 10 minutes, please, and we get this All-Ireland final. So I think everybody has different beliefs, and that's not for everybody, but certainly that's what we were handed down, and she was really strong in that field.
It has been a bit of a recurring theme in some of the stuff we've done when we've touched on loss and people who have lost loved ones, is that faith has played a massively important part in that.
Yeah. Well, I think you can get cross or you can feel the world is against you, but just being able to reflect and maybe find a place where you can live with it and get on with it, because you don't know where you are. I can still remember, as I said, that drive from Gortnahu where the challenge match was on up to Nina. I'll never forget that drive. But knowing that they still are sort of on your shoulder is how I describe it, and you can look up, and that's not for everyone, but certainly that's how we were brought up, and it has made a big difference because life is tough, and being able to, it puts everything in perspective. Some people talk about pressure, and some things that we reflect on as pressure is not really pressure.
It just seems like it at the time, I suppose. Was there any time where you questioned that? You questioned your faith? I asked the same question. We had John McAreevy on a number of weeks ago, and I asked him the same thing. Did that ever waver? Because I know from a personal point of view, I would have faith as well, but it has wavered at times when different things have gone on or happened, or those stressful times. So, what about you?
Yeah, look, I think, you'd like to, there's sometimes where, I'm not always present at Mass. I'd end up taking it in the car. Unfortunately, I do probably take on too much. That's one of the downsides I have. I need to learn to say more, maybe that little bit more often, because I'm always going to training here or going to Dublin here, or, there's something on all the time, and, you got to make time for your family as well. But look, as I said, I'm happy with the relationship I have, and I'm happy that, as a family we carry on what our mother handed down to us, and I think it stood us well as a family over many years. And I think it, as you said, life is tough and it can be challenging, but having those moments, I think, are great. And I suppose I suppose the best memory I have of my mother is when we won the All-Ireland final in 2010, and she came into Stimple Stadium, and I remember saying to John, I said, John, I actually we're trying to beat Kilkenny 5-0. I said, John, I think we're going to win this thing, and John was the boss, so he had to get John's approval for everything. And I said, maybe we should bring her up, she'd manage for the day, and he said, no. He said, I'll tell you what, he said, if you win it, we'll bring her to Thurles. So I said, fair enough, so that's the deal. So we met after the match, obviously, in high elation, and she came over to Thurles, but she sang Happy Are We All Together on the podium over there, and she said there was more in Thurles than there would be for the Dolores O'Riordan concert. So she was very happy with herself going home, but I suppose a lot of the other memories would be, going to Mass or going, and every time we won a trophy in the parish, she'd be out at the gate, and then she'd go down to the hall and sing Happy Are We All Together. So, and I suppose, before, in our later years, we used to always go to Gary Kennedy. It's a lovely place down in Loughdurg. It's only a mile from us, down to Maura Boyle's Larkin's Bar, and we go in there as a family. And she'd always sing a song, and then she'd force John to sing, and then Mike would have to sing it. And none of us wanted to sing, but you didn't say no to your mother.
Would you throw out a few bars there?
We'd throw out a few bars, yeah.
What's your go-to?
Caledonia is my go-to, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's my wife's favourite song.
Is it?
That's one of my favourite songs as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
That is my wife's favourite song. She would have come, but did it more recently there. The Scottish fella does a great version of it.
Nothing like me.
No, clearly nothing like you. Clearly nothing like you. That's going to annoy me, his name. It'll come back to me. Yeah, your mummy singing at the homecoming that is a unique bit of stuff for Liam McCarthy coming back home. Fantastic. Can I ask you, growing up without a father, what was the most difficult bit upon reflection? And I suppose that's kind of a strange question in a way, because you were one when he died, so you never had one. And I imagine that experience is quite different from someone that maybe their dad died when he was 10.
Yeah.
My mother and father split up when I was 5, 2 younger brothers. So that, again, slightly different probably in a way. But just from your perspective, what was the...
Yeah, I remember, like, Father Maloney, he's still alive. He was a parish priest at the time. And he remembers coming into the house. He still talks to me about he's a great GA man and a great priest. But he's in the Mines parish now. But he remembers coming in, and I was in the little playpen in the corner, and Daddy was after passing away, Johnny. And he said, God, I wonder how his life going to turn out for that fella. And he says, you didn't turn out too bad, but like, I suppose you're going to... I was probably a little bit lucky as well that the lads were probably 8 or 9 years older. Like, Mike is probably 9 years older than me. Or John is in the middle, and Jimmy was oldest. So in some ways, I probably lost 1 and gained 3 because they probably took me under their wing. I mean, I was only a small child, but I would say growing up, it's probably easier. We're very naive as kids, I think, back in the 70s, and we just went about our business. And I suppose where our house was, it was across from the pub, and it was I could jump down into the field, cross one field, jump a ditch, cross another field, jump a ditch. I'm in the hurling field. And like when you walk into the hurling field, it doesn't matter whether you have a parent, whether you have brothers or sisters. If you can do things with a hurling ball, or you can play a game of soccer, or you can have a game of football. And I just probably found my love of sport down in that hurling field. I remember at the time, Port's on a hill, and at the time our pitch was down like that. And I'd be down there every day. And I suppose that's just how I grew up in the village. Various people then obviously took me under their wing. I suppose maybe when you're seen as not having dad, some people take you under your wing. I'd say Jim Madden. So Mike Madden runs the GPA leadership program. It's the Jim Madden leadership program for a long number of years it was. And Jim would have taken me very much under his wing. He coached most of my teams underage, and I probably found myself in the hurling field. And again, I was too young to go into secondary school, and I ended up having to do a year in Nina Primary School, which was a big deal at the time because you lose all your friends that you're going in with. So you're in there in Nina School on your own. But it probably, I suppose that once you went out, I'd say I found the first week really tough, and then once I went out on the pitch and you're able to hit a hurling ball around the place, they sort of say, oh, maybe this fella's okay, maybe we can hang out with this fella. So I'd say sport had a big impact on my life, and it just allows you to find your feet, and it allows you to get maybe closer and connected to others because they see something in you. And I think sport helped. I think the 3 lads had a massive, I think about the sacrifices they made to take me around. As I said, they took me to the Kerry and Roscommon All-Ireland football final. Like for me to get up to Croke Park, I can still remember Dermot Early taking about 12 steps back to kick a free and kick the ball, Gay Sheeran in the goal, like just small little things like that, seeing those great Kerry greats. And I got to see Offaly and Galway in the All-Ireland final, and Johnny Flaherty and all those great hurlers, And I think I know the girls have a great saying, can't see, can't be, but I've no doubt when I was in Croke Park or when I was down in the Gaelic grounds or when I was in Thurles, it was lighting a bit of a spark inside me to say, God, could somebody from Portroe maybe make the step forward? And I think sport obviously played a big part. But the values I got them from my brothers, I got them from Jim Madden, and I got them from my club, and obviously my mother.
I'd say what you've said over the last 3 minutes is as good an advertisement for Gaelic Games as I've probably ever heard. And you probably didn't even think of framing it in that way in any way. I mean, I was listening to you there intently the whole time. Your loss, without a father figure, acceptance, over the ditch, over the field, over the ditch, over the field, resolve, having to go to a different school in a different place, not quite fitting in. Again, this boy's probably handy enough here, actually might be dead on to be friends with. And then it kind of grows from that. Somebody brings you up to Croke Park to a football final, lights a spark in you, is the phrase you said. I mean, it's where sport and community are so intertwined, it's actually very difficult to tell the difference.
faith, family, community, GAA, was life a lot easier than it is now? Was it not as complex,
100%.
do you think, for lads growing up now?
100%. Yeah. And that's why, I suppose, the fabric of our communities in today's world is so important, because it's not easy. You know, you've got so much going on. You've got social media. You know, we've got a pandemic in relation to substances that are available to you that we never even had to worry about. You know, so I do feel for the younger people. I do think that building resilience into young kids is probably the greatest skill and the greatest gift we can give them. And again, kids unknowns to themselves can be quite tough on other kids without really realising it. So yeah, I think the life of a child as they move from primary school into adolescence is multiple times tougher. And that's why I suppose, you know, when you look at the demographics, you look at rural populations, you look at trying to maintain the communities, I think the GAA needs to be the heartbeat of those communities, because I think if anybody goes off centre or moves in the wrong direction, I think the GAA club has the ability to pull them back in and bring them into an environment where, I don't think it's like, look, we're not perfect. And I know this, you know, I sat in management for 3 years, and some of the stories I heard about wrongdoings that were done in club situations, but in the main, we run 99.5% of the time, we run incredibly strong environments that are incredibly good for kids, that will treat them not just to how to play hurling or football, but actually give them the life skills. And to me, it's all about the life skills. As I said, I can never repay back. I couldn't, what the GAA has given me is multiples of what I couldn't ever give them back. Like, I couldn't give back what I've got. But I appreciate that. But you know, that's why I suppose we've got to try and make sure that, how do we ensure that it's not the beginning of the end, but it's the end of the beginning, and that we continue to roll.
It definitely does shape you in so many ways. Did you bring a lot of that into management then when you first stepped into the inter-county scene?
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to think I'm curious. I'm always looking to know what, you know, where the ball is going as opposed to where the ball is. How can I make it better? You know, I suppose I remember the first time they came in 2008. Their jerseys were hanging up, their togs were there, their socks were there, and someone's walking in saying, "Jesus Christ, like walking into Real Madrid." That's not a bad start now, you know. Because the first week, I'm a guy that lost one in Ireland, won at 21, and a few juniors, but like, you know, you're not going to be looking up saying, here's the Messiah in the door, let's go, you know. So I felt I was on trial early doors, and so setting out my stall, you know, being very selective around who I put around me. And I suppose my goal in life all the time is to make people better and make them better people, every bit as important as better players. Knowing that I'd be in their corner, I'd have their back and do everything they can to get the best out of themselves, individually and collectively, create a really good culture. And, you know, I would say that, you know, a big thing for me as well is a bit of enjoyment and a bit of crack. I don't think you can laugh and be in bad form at the same time. And I think sometimes, at elite level now, might be gone a little bit too serious, and I'm all for a bit of fun.
With the way it is now, is it a full-time job? There's been quite a lot of conversation around that at the minute. You know, should we just get a manager in, give him the job, pay him as a full-time manager, everything sort of dressed around that? Where would you sit on that?
Well, you know, there's hours and hours going into it. You know, like, let's be straight about it. I don't care how good the deal is or how much people in managing other counties are getting. I'd say if you added up there, they're working for less than the minimum wage in nearly 80-90% of cases. So there's an awful lot of time goes into managing a team. You're talking about probably 40 players.
Yeah.
You're talking about 25, 30 in a backroom team. Like, you know, there's very few people in organisations who have 70 direct reports. Yeah. Very few.
But is there something holding you back there from saying, yeah, we need... It seems if anybody that I would be chatting to would say pretty much exactly what you said. And everybody listening in their cars, at home, would be nodding along in agreement. Even in a club session, you see obviously everything that's happening there at the minute. But actually, there's still a wee bit with a lot of people going, oh, but where does it stop?
Yeah, but it's not just where it is. I like, you know, you don't want... It could become over-consuming. I felt it was no harm, you know, second time around, you know, to be able to go back down, and first time around, to be able to go back down and into your day job. You know, I'd probably work most of the week up to it, Well, you mightn't see me lot the week after the match now. We had a bit of celebrating to do. I got to celebrate successes. But I would say just that distraction and routine. I had my routine. You go to work, and I just think it could overconsume you, and you get all wrapped up in it. And I don't know, is that what we're about either, Thomas? I probably have mixed them up. I'm understanding the demands that's there, but having something that just means it's not your total ultimate focus, because I think it could overconsume you.
Right.
Because you're going to lose half the time. And just having something else that's not, as I said, it's not something I've really thought about, but I would give any manager that is now managing to complete a full-time job in parallel with an inter-county manager's job, I'd have incredible respect for them, because that's some shift now.
Yeah, definitely. Do you know where this man's debut was at?
I only know because you told me.
At least you're honest.
What shows you the depth of your
My what?
your research,
Yeah. Well, this one was
your professionalism.
Well, that's
your
very
journalism.
well. That is me. That is me. You talk about letters. It's funny how a letter can cut you clean open,
Yeah.
because who receives letters anymore? Really? We had Oisín's mum on the podcast a couple of years ago.
Fabulous.
And did you hear?
I did.
You caught that? And she got letters. Like it's.
I've had a few over the years.
What do you say?
I've had a few over the years as well.
Yeah.
What did they say? Genuinely though, I mean,
those
it's
positive ones.
look. I had a couple because of people living in England
Yeah.
watching an All Ireland in the home for the first time.
Yeah.
And maybe there was a person who sent a letter to the Director General of the BBC, and he forwarded it on to us. Some older woman who'd moved over years ago. And I mean, when you see somebody takes the effort to write that,
And I use it a lot in sport. Used it a bit in business. Before the All Ireland final, I get them all to write a positive comment about each of their players. So they'd get onto the bus and they'd have a positive comment. They'd have 39 positive comments about what their peers think of them. And you look back down the bus and you're heading into Croke Park and they're stuck in like there's something special about reading what other people, and the last thing you do before you get into your gear. And I believe it's letters. So we'd have a motivational letter and we'd have an A4 with the 39 positive comments in it. And I did it. We did it in 9. I said, "Geez, what are we going to do now in 10?" So we actually took the time. Myself and Eamon and Mick took, I'd say, 5 hours out of our day in the Abbey Court in Nina, and wrote a personal message to every one of the panel about the day after the Sunday and what was it. And 3 of us signed it, and handwritten in a motivational letter to each of them, because you're all the time looking for those 1%ers, and I do believe there's something special about letters. I think they can, they just understand. I think people sometimes, if you walk in there and you have fear going into Croke Park, it's not going to end well. If you walk in there really believing who you are and what you're capable of, when you're at your best, and hopefully the letter brings that a bit to life, that's what you want in there.
So there's 2 ways of looking upon that, and it's not to become too fixated with a tiny little thing. You're writing that letter to get an achievement, a way of thinking, a part of motivation. But for that to land correctly, it has to be authentic.
100%.
So, if you're saying to number 26, he is absolutely the best hurler, then, well, I'm clearly not, otherwise would have been starting in a way. And that's a very difficult thing.
That's why it takes 4.5 hours.
Right.
There's only 40 of them, like. It's a long time.
Yeah.
But it has to be authentic. Don't write BS. You read BS, you don't have me. Like, remember now, we're trying to make better people, not better players. In addition to better players.
Yeah.
But I think there is something special about having a letter. And when they come in, look, when the other ones come in and they're not nice, rip them up, throw them in the fire.
Yeah.
The one thing I don't spend any time is, I've no interest in other people's opinions. If that's their opinion, that's fine. It's none of my business.
Yeah. I think younger people are getting better at that now. Around social media, somebody, like it's the 100 good things, you're the best in the world, you're brilliant. Somebody else says something negative, and it's like, cut you to ribbons or whatever. But I actually think people now are, starting to really see that for what it is, that it doesn't hit them as hard? Or am I? It's a very sweeping statement across everybody there.
There's a guy actually in the north who does a lot of stuff around protection of kids around, you know, social media and the internet in general and different apps. And he, from my recollection, he said that for every negative comment, it takes 50 positive comments to drain that out. Mm-hmm. I thought that was no, I don't think he's coming. I don't think that's factual numbers or that he's, you know, that's. But that was the phrase that he used, you know. So
Maureen Gaffney says that in her book Flourishing, she says that you should, in your interaction with people, you should be looking to get to a 7-1. So if you're working or dealing with somebody, if you give them 7 positive affirmations and one area of improvement, that's flourishing. If you're 1-1, it's despair. If it's 3-1, it's just about survival. So I always reflect on my own. And the other part of it is, if you have 7 deposits made, it's easier to make the one withdrawal. Or I can really say, hold on a second, that's not good enough. So, you know, I just can't get over that we accept in society that ABC 1, 2, 3 can put a comment up about Liam Sheedy or Russia McConville or Thomas Niblock. I just cannot believe that we allow this. I just can't fathom how somebody can write something down degrading about people and not stand behind their comment. Like, if you're a journalist or if you're in any part of business, your name, your picture, and I just think that, you know, that's where we're getting to 50-1, because some people are looking for clicks, are looking for hits, are looking for differing views. I don't know, is it their real view or are they trying to poke something? But who am I to say?
I think it's good, thought-provoking conversation all the same.
I used to, when I played, we used to talk about the sandwich.
Yeah.
So the sandwich was basically you're a brilliant free taker.
Yeah.
But you need to work a lot harder. But you're a good tackler.
Yeah.
That was never said to me. But you know what I mean? So it was 2 positives, but you were getting your point across in there as well.
We were more into burgers. It was the burger down in Tip. You're obviously into sandwiches up.
Liam's gone soft. He's talking about the 7-1 ratio there. You know, you're good, bad, and good.
But even for, like, when you coach, like, sometimes you go in, you see kids being coached, like, and they miss a ball and they get berated.
Yeah.
Like, the child is saying, do I really want to go to the next ball and miss it again? You know, so I always encourage people to just reflect on your style, because, you know, it's less about the science and more about the art of coaching and people.
What's the best thing you've ever learned around performance?
Everybody has the potential to soar. Everybody. I don't think anybody, I suppose, if I asked the best piece of advice my mother gave me, which said, Liam Sheedy said, there's nobody going into work for you that would like to do a bad job. There's nobody going in, I had a cruel week this week and I'm going to have a brutal week again next week. Everybody would like to do a good job. So I suppose there's been many players, many people, boardrooms and dressing rooms, who they said, no, they're done. But I never make assumptions. My job as a leader is to try and get them to deliver and play to their potential, whatever their field of expertise is. And sometimes you've got to believe in them, maybe when they don't believe in themselves. But and sometimes they might have issues going on that are outside of the boardroom or the dressing room. Mm-hmm. But if you help them through that, you're a friend for life.
And have you always been like this?
Well, I think it's a learned skill over the years. I mean, when I started off coaching, if I was walking toward the bottles and the fellow was in bad form, I'd say, I'll do it out of drink this time. I'll go over again in a few minutes' time. Yeah. So, like, I'd be quite happy with going my different ways. Not now. No. I go and have the chat.
I just mean, you know, we're watching from the outside looking in, which is a tiny little piece of it, really. Like when you talked about looking up to the skies in the 62nd minute, like there's a lovely photograph of you at that moment, I remember. But when I watch your demeanour in the sideline, you know, just as you go into games and work on the games, like, you're tough. Your exterior is tough. You're bossing there. Now, if you've Brian Cody down beside you as well, there's maybe a bit of performative piece in that as well. Not going to be intimidated, whatever it is. But you look a tough man. have to say now. But actually, what I'm listening to here is such a level of nearly intimate understanding of people, then the relationship with the player, which jilts with me a wee bit. But that's probably just plain and simply my ignorance.
Yeah, well, I think, I think we all have to have an edge. But I'd say I'm very passionate about what I do. So if I'm in them all in, that probably comes across, everybody's their own style. Mickey folds his arms, lets it all go on outside in front of him. That's his style. You got to be yourself, and I don't try and be anybody else, but I am passionate about what I do, where I come from, what I put in, because I think passion is the biggest force multiplier of performance, is you have to be passionate about what you do. But not to the stage where, as I said, if sometimes if you get too involved, you go over the top. And if you're trying to be too relaxed, I suppose I'm trying to get into the zone, into the flow space, where I just feel at one with myself and I'm fully connected to what's going on outside me. And I think when you're in that space, it's a great place to be.
Will you explain to Thomas what it's like as a manager, nervous energy wise?
I suppose experience teaches you that you can get very comfortable in your own space. I suppose I'm a big man of preparation. We got absolutely hosed below in Cork at the end of May, and I had my prep done beforehand. Okay, what happens, because Cork, we had beaten them in 8 and in 9.
Yeah.
And I said, okay, what happens if it goes wrong here? So I'd done the maths, what happens if we lose by a point? What happens if we win? And what happens if we're beaten heavily? We were beaten by 10 points. And I remember walking back into the dressing room, and you can imagine it's fairly low. And I said, lads, I know we're all low now, but I said, in 98 days' time, we'll be All-Ireland champions. And Declan Fanning looked at me, he came up to me after the season was over, he said, geez, he says, I was on my knees, he said, but as soon as I heard that comment, he said, you put a pep in my step. And I suppose it's not that, if you don't believe it, you can't say it. But I knew from where we got to the previous year, within a whisker of turning them over, that it was in us to do it. And that's why I think, as a manager, you can't be undercooked, you can't be overcooked, you got to be in the zone, and you got to have your prep done. And as I said, I'm a no regrets man. Once I've ticked all the boxes, I would have sat down with, whether it was Caroline or Gary, saying, this is the list of things we need to get through, tick all the boxes, and then we get ready to go.
Yeah. It's the detail in that would impress me if I was sitting in that change room. The fact it was the 98 days. Like, if you come out with a statement like, maybe it's just my weird personality, I'd be going, seen anything.
Yeah.
At that stage was the third Sunday in September, Or sorry, the first Sunday in September. So you went, but that would I see of all that would impress me, because it's the second thread underneath that. It's the fact that you've gone to the detail before, unless you're a mathematical genius and think of it off the hop. That would hit me that you're already in that space.
And like, it was 42 days of sick, so I had to use it again 9 years later, because Limerick hosed us in the Munster final.
That's right.
And we were well beaten. And again, I had to do the same thing. And then I go back and have the chat with the ceiling again. So it's a long night, and I'm taking my notes on my phone. But I went over to the gym in Thurles at 1 o'clock, and that was full with all my players. And I went back to Nina into the gym, and they were all there as well. So I knew, the recovery started already. If we had to win the Munster final, they'd be in Larry Corbett's, or they'd be in some establishment in Nina. So, but I think preparation is a big part in sport. And look, at the end of the day, I think if you treat people well and treat players well, they'll come for you and they'll play for you.
What's the highlight of your life? Now, there's a question.
Ooh. Highlight of my life.
Careful.
I had the 2 girls, probably. We're very close. Yeah, really close. Just I'd go across the world and back. Obviously, Megs wouldn't be left at home either, but I'm really close to Aisling and Gemma. We have a fabulous relationship. We have great crack. Come home at night. If we're all home together, we always have tea together in the night. The phone's pushed to one side. Have a bit of crack. Have a drink together. Spend time together. Have a bit of food over. So if you ask me to the highlight of my life, I think, for myself and Megs, it's the 2 girls. They've been there through thick and thin. When I lost the All-Ireland semi-final in 8. First person to meet me on the pitch was Aisling. She's definitely my biggest fan. Gemma, likewise, we just, so yeah, for me, I think, family is really important. The family is everything. I suppose under my purpose is 3 things. Family is everything, health is longevity, and friendship matters. I've got a great circle of friends.
Yeah.
So family, friendship, and health would be the big one. Obviously, health has to be big after poor dad and Jim.
Yeah. I mean, faith, family, football is something we hear a lot.
Football.
Yeah, not from you, not from you, clearly. Up north particularly, but down south and Kerry too. We everywhere in a way. But faith, family, football. Always think of the great Adrian McGuckin. People talk about Flans and these sort of iconic schools in and around the place, and Hartley Cups. Well, McCrory Cup up north is the big colleges football. Adrian McGuckin is one of the doyens of that. But family, faith, and football. And anyway, but a lot of people do say that. But family, faith. You talked about friendship there, and the MFs are quite littered around the GAA. Hurling just doesn't begin with F. That's the problem.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's a few other things, but you've really brought that to life. Farming's always a thing thrown in there for the culties as well. In fairness, like the tiny boys don't get that just as much. But just your whole R sitting here, that's threaded throughout it, isn't it? They're easy words to say, particularly with alliteration if they begin with the same letter, but actually you get a real feel for that family. Like, that's a very dangerous question. What's the highlight of your life? In a GAA sport, are we sport? Do we ever talk about sport? Do we? The natural place for you to go there is maybe 2010.
Yeah.
And it's not diluting the amazing thing of that is, which we feel we haven't really touched upon, but I think for you to spark family in this setting with the gist of this conversation brings an authenticity to it, which is lovely. No?
Yeah, no, 100%. And I suppose just there's a lot of clarity there that I don't have right now. I suppose that there's a lot of stuff that I'm taking away. Taking some mental notes here. But the thing I find is the fact that you found that balance. The good point is, like, I know it's busy. It is busy if you're working a full time job, but that distraction has to be there.
Yep.
That distraction has to be there. And then I suppose the other point you made is just being authentic on the line. Being like, because a lot of people look at managers, like I look at Mickey Hard, and I couldn't do that. I've tried to do that. I actually went and tried to do that because I thought that would make me a better manager.
Yeah.
To go and do that, because not to be as involved as I am. Said this to you before. So I'm maybe reaching over into being too involved, and I'm trying to find that space in the middle now. Do you know? Yeah. So, but I think you're authentic. If you, it's yourself.
It is.
I just find, and that's why I was asking you just about that energy. And when you go into Croke Park, they have a beautiful little hash mark where you can move around. And whereas if I go to a league match in a couple of weeks, I'll have 50 yards of space to walk up and down. That might use up a little bit more energy than the little hash in Croke Park.
But you're touching on a big word there too. Two things I think would be central is, like, you have to be yourself. You have to be yourself. Like if you're putting on a mask, or you're leaving a bit of yourself in the car when you pull up alone Wicklow, or when you pull into Croke Park, wherever you've got to be yourself. And as you said, if yourself is folding your arms, then be yourself. Fold your arms. But the other part is energy. And like there's 168 hours in every week. It's a lot of time. And I value my energy. I feel energy is my currency. So, I've had a really hectic 2 weeks, but I love it. All right, but I know that, this morning at 8:30 I was up around the field. Not very fast, but I get like, I know if my energy isn't up there in my role, whether it be business or sport, my team's energy won't be there either. And that was probably one of the biggest things Caroline Curran gave to me, was the importance of your energy, and you need to be in the zone, but have a really good energy. And thankfully, as I said, I do a lot to replenish it. But we have a lot of time, and that's why, provided you're well able to hit the delegate button, I suppose that's the thing about surrounding yourself with people that can do things that you can't do. Eamon O'Shea can coach a team much better than I can. Tommy Donovan Kelly, Darren Leeson, Darregan, Mick Ryan, all them. Cian O'Neill, incredible trainer in 2008 when probably no one even knew who he was. Look what he's gone on to achieve. And equally then, the ability to help lead. I suppose I do love the fact that Eamon went on and managed Tip, and Mick went on and managed Tip. Mick won it, Eamon lost in a replay. So I suppose the ability to share your knowledge and share your style and share your IP with others to allow them to go and maybe realise their dreams as well is a big part of life, I think, as well. Because at the end of the day, you won't be measured by what you take, you'll be measured by what you give.
Good bit of chat around Eamon O'Shea's last couple of weeks, hasn't there?
Actually, yeah.
We had Jamesy O'Connor on recently in the podcast, and whilst it feels a bit more natural, you going towards him, but it definitely did not feel natural. Jamesy going there straight away, but he gave him an awful lot of praise.
Massive, yeah. There's a massive connection between Jamesy and Christy and Eamon, yeah. But there's a massive connection with Eamon, with everyone he spoke to. The players that he unlocked to really release their potential on the hurling field has just been incredible.
Yeah,
just been incredible. But again, he's we're very alike in the sense that we want to make them better players, and also better people.
You're not finished with management, are you?
I don't know. I've loads of energy anyway. That's why I must say I'm enjoying being back with the lads, and it's only a small bit now. I'm only doing a little bit of fitness work. John Carroll, remember John used to play with Tip? Yeah. He's the coach, and John is the manager, and they're in year 2. But they asked me would I do a little bit on the fitness side at the start, so we have them on a gym program, and the lads are enjoying it, and I'm enjoying it. Sunday morning, 11 o'clock, up to the field. I remember I looked, we were 7 Jammer above last Sunday morning, lashing rain, and I looked at him and said, "Are we getting a bit of vitamin D here?" I said, and he had a big red-headed him and a big hat down over his head, and we just said, yeah, sure, where else do you want to be? In with your own, just trying to give something back, because I think I'm getting to the stage now where, it's probably more about giving and how I can give to others, and I suppose the best place you can ever give is back in your own parish, and look at where it's tough going, we're a small club, so trying to keep the game alive, that's the key.
That was the most enthusiastic yes without saying the word yes. His first answer there was, you're not finished the management. He goes, "Oh, I don't know." Right? Then he goes, "I've loads of energy, and you know what? I'm enjoying it with the boys at the minute." And then he just sparked into life. So you can visibly see that at this stage. Like inter-county stuff, would that ever be a draw to go back again?
I suppose I love the role that I do. I'm working with.
Could you ever manage outside Tip, do you think?
I don't know. I suppose it's something that has probably come across my play. I suppose, I was so close to a lot of the crop that I had from 2008, and were still with me in 2019. That would have made it really difficult. So, look, I to be honest with you, Thomas, I'd never rule anything in or never rule anything out, because if my purpose is to try and inspire and motivate people in business and sport. Right now, I'm doing a lot of that in the business world, and I'm doing a little bit, as I said, back in my own club. And I do visit teams from time to time and do a little bit of work with them on a once-off or two-off type of environment, and that suits me.
Yeah,
because it's less committal, because time is the challenge. But honest to God, I never come off a field or come out of a room working with people where I'm in bad form. I suppose that's the beauty. Declan Kyle told me one time, he said, Liam Sheedy said, if you love what you do and you're doing what you love, it's not really a job. And I'm lucky at the stage in my life, in my mid-50s, I'm at that stage. I just love what I do, and I really enjoy it, whether it's in the boardroom or the odd time out on the pitch.
Brilliant. Just before we do wrap it up, you touched on the boardroom. You did go. See, all I said was you did go. You don't know what I'm going to ask, do you?
I do have a fair idea, yeah.
You did go for the Director General job with the GAA and didn't get it.
No.
One of 3.
One of 3 left.
You were shortlisted.
Yeah, I think there could have been 70 or 80 was in the field. So
yeah,
I got down a nice bit, but I didn't
get
right to the top.
What way do you reflect upon that now? What are you thinking?
I look at it. I suppose I felt I had a bit to offer, and I would have. I suppose I had sat on GAA management for 3 years, so I got to understand the inner workings for a period. I chaired the Hurling 2020 committee where we introduced the 1-on-1 penalty and various other things that got passed and went through. I enjoyed that work as well. So I suppose I was very close. Pádraig Duffy was, I just had huge time for him, and I said to him, what do you think? He said, why wouldn't you put your name forward? So when you go in, you go all in, and obviously it becomes very public, and that's not easy either when you're in an executive role in Bank of Ireland. But they knew that I was sport mad. So I suppose looking back, I was proud that I got to there was a massive field went, really strong candidates.
Yeah.
And I got right down to the final 3. So I was very, very proud with that. And look, it wasn't meant to be. I suppose when COVID hit and you were trying to let people go, I was looking at myself, and I suppose when I walked up to the top of the stand in 2019, and John Horn and Tom Ryan are standing behind me, and I'm walking up, and I'm asking myself, would I be rather where Tom is now, or would I rather be where I am? And I said, oh Jesus, no, I'm really happy where I am. And I suppose I wouldn't have went back and managed Tipperary to win a second title if I had to get the job. But my mother was always very clear with me in life: what's for you won't pass you by. So it wasn't meant to be, and I just dusted myself down and went on again. And as I said, the one thing about that is, if you feel that if you're a win or lose mentality where you're only happy if you win and you're always disappointed if you lose. If I was like that in life now, I wouldn't have got very far. So, you dust yourself down and go again. I suppose I just felt I had something to offer, different dynamic, had a lot of experience in the business world, would have brought maybe some different thoughts around some of that stuff. But look, as I said, Tom, the GAA is in a good place. I think we do have challenges coming down the tracks, but well, I just think, when I look at the demographics, when I look at we probably can't cater for the numbers in some areas, in urban areas, and we can't get enough kids, in other areas, and we can't get houses. I suppose we're trying to build a strategic plan, and one of them will be trying to house the next generation. The last 5 players in our club, none of them will reside in the club, so they're not, they won't get a house. It's expensive. So I think there is a number of challenges. I think Willie Maher is a great selection for the Director of Hurling, but he needs support. He needs a plan. I think even if you take the counties that we probably said we wanted to protect in the last Hurling 24, there was protect, there was develop, or grow, and there was develop. I don't think the grower develops have really moved, and I think we're in danger of losing some of the ones that we were protected. I think, Wexford and Antrim and some of the others are probably finding it hard to keep up with some of the counties. So I think that's the challenge for hurling, is to, we don't have a game unless we have competition. Obviously Limerick and Cork and, Tip and Kilkenny, Galway, there's a core, and Dublin continue to make progress. But it's the number, I would have loved us to really plan to get to a 16-team Liam McCarthy. I think that would be amazing. But I think we're no closer now than when we first wrote the report. I don't think we're any closer to getting to 16 teams. I think we're struggling, and will struggle even more to maintain double digit.
Further away, probably.
Sorry?
Further away.
Yeah.
Maybe would that be?
Yeah, I'd say we're in decline. Yeah. So I just think it might be the time. We made the various decisions around COVID. They were probably right at the time, but maybe just a reflection on where we're at and where we're trying to go. But I do think there should be an ambition to get to 12 to 16 and look to go up. And I think the trend potentially is going back.
There's 2 wee things there. And I'm trying to wrap this up, but it's too good. It's too good. There's a school of thought from some people in the bigger counties that it's, kind of forget about what's happening in the weaker counties here for a minute. That's a nice lofty ideal to get them up to standard. We need to really work hard to keep ourselves at that level. I'm talking about, the person was on the podcast said that quite recently actually, and so there's nearly a sense there we need to protect what we have here at the minute to keep it strong, as opposed to maybe stretching it out too much. Forget about that for a second. That's the priority for those counties. Then you've other people where I just think it's environment and it's opportunity. I mean, I was raised in a football club, Maherfeld, we don't have hurling. We have 8 GAA clubs within 4 miles of our pitch. Really strong GAA area.
Yeah.
But I always loved hurling when I was a youngster, and I would love to have had the chance to play for it. For me to do that, I had to go to Lavi,
Yeah.
which is a rival football club, by the way,
Yeah.
and walk into a changing room of people your own age that you
Yeah.
don't know. Like, when I look back, I actually think, like, I mean, that was something to even do that there, but that is not easy to do.
No.
And that comes down to opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think the biggest thing in hurling still is opportunity.
Agreed.
I mean, why is every child not given a hurl and 2 plastic slithers and 2 leather ones? I mean, it should be nearly mandatory. Like, if I was a multi-millionaire, which I'm clearly not, because I'd be doing that.
Yeah. And I suppose that was the overriding thought in the Hurling 2020 report, was that every child would be given the opportunity to play and experience the game of hurling.
And even in a sense, like, I completely understand. It is easier, I think, Oisín, I don't want to come across wrong here. I think it's easier to coach football than it is hurling, because hurling's just so skilled. Just even what way you pick up the ball, what way you hold it, what way you protect yourself. Like, the first thing, they go, you need
I think you can come to it a wee bit later.
Yeah.
Football-wise.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. But it takes a real skill set and good coaching to just the ABCs in hurling, as opposed to football. It's not just that. So with that comes, not every club's going to have that access to that kind of thing. Like, I always wonder, why can you not have, right, see where you live out there, there's no hurling, right, see these clubs, you come together and that's your club. You don't have to. If you want to go somewhere else, that's fine, but and there's a resource put in there that every child in Ireland can feel that they have a club.
Yeah, but I think ultimately you need a plan and a structure, and I'm not so sure, with the best will in the world, with Willie. I mean, I was in Antrim for a few years helping out, and I would say that there should be a director of hurling, one for Antrim, on its own. Like, the population is there. I think it's just they're crazy mad hurling up in the Glens. Like, I mean, I just think there is I think Kildare have a lot of, so I think we should target specific areas and just go for it in those particular areas. Like, it does need investment, but it needs a plan, because I'm not going to invest unless I have a plan.
Yeah.
And equally, I think we are in danger. Like, if you look at like the Super Club is something that is not going to be healthy. If that ends up, like, if you take Waterford hurling, for Waterford hurling to prosper, if Ballygunner are winning 10, 11, 12 in a row, like, that's not good. We now have a situation where they have 2 teams. So, like, that's, and potentially, like, if 2 teams meet from the one club in the county final, that's detrimental for the overall game in the county. So I just think there's challenges ahead, and I'm not so sure. You could look at the revenue, you could look at gates. Limerick and Cork are flooding pitches. There's Munster Club or Munster Championship will sell out. But when you dig deeper underneath the surface and you go down, I just think that we want to be careful, because I'm not so sure we're built and structured and have an eye on the future and what we will be in 2036 versus 2026.
Right.
Personal view.
Okay, we will wrap it up there, because that was great, wasn't it, Oisín?
Very good.
That was really good. Just a great.
You did tee it up, though. It was going to be good.
It's just a good feeling. Good, like the cut of this man's jib, like, he just had a good feeling. Felt a bit of pressure, but he had the liver, not me.
Your gut's always right.
No, it's not. It's very rarely right, but it is. No, look, that was just a really good conversation. I think there's lots of different things in there, like a lot of different stuff in there, and different people will take different things from that. So, look, thank you very much indeed for having us. Like,
Thanks,
really
Liam.
appreciate it, Liam.
Thanks a million.
Listen, it's good seeing you, man, and do keep in touch. We'll see you, please God, in the next too distant future. And Oisín, we'll see you again very soon.
Thanks, Tommy.
All our listeners, many more podcasts and BBC Sounds, and much more GA content right across the BBC, including the BBC Sport website. But from the great Liam Sheedy, great Oisín McConville, and myself, thanks for listening.